Now, you know me, folks, I don't tend to make a habit of looking at girls on Instagram, you know. It's not really my sort of thing. But I just happen to come across, I just happen to notice that there's an ever increasing amount of Instagram girls, of OnlyFans girls, that are supporting Reform Party. They're doing videos like this. They're also sort of going on podcasts to spread their message.
So 1 out of 4 sexual offences are now committed by non-British nationals.
Is that illegal immigrants?
No, so that's just non-British,
yeah.
right? And this is on the basis that there's only 9.3% of the population is non-British national, right?
I have similar views to you in a lot of ways, and I just feel like in this country, like you said, like Australia, you need to come in legally. Like whatever reason you're coming here or whatever job you're going to do, that's one thing. But just come legally so we know who you are. Let's see your passport, because these people are coming off boats and getting welcomed in, and we don't know who they are.
Now, you can't really complain with what they're saying there. I think the majority of the country would like to know who's coming into the country. Even the stats that she puts at the beginning there, if you fact check them, they're correct. 26% of sexual assaults on females are done by foreign nationals, and foreign nationals only make up 9% of the population. I mean, if you want to scrutinise it and nitpick, you know, there's foreign nationals, a larger percentage of males than the British population, so you'd expect that to be slightly higher, but 26% is a lot, and it even goes up to 34% if you take into consideration unknown nationalities. Now, if your nationality is unknown, I think it's probably safe to say that you're not British. So I don't think it's a particularly extreme viewpoint to want to know who's coming into the country and be against more sexual assaults on females. So what's the answer then? Should we all vote reform? Should we all vote reform? Sorry about that, folks. I just had to move the van, but the video continues. So, I mean, what does that mean then? I mean, I guess we should all vote reform, right? If you like boobs, if you're against females being sexually assaulted, if you want to know who's coming into the country, I guess the only option is we vote for reform. And a lot of people will do that on that basis. Maybe not the boobs, but you know what I mean, on the fact that they're concerned about undocumented migrants, and they're concerned about the percentage of sexual assaults that are happening on females. And, you know, can you blame them? But the thing that I'd be dying to ask Lena, and the thing is with like, I think she's probably a very intelligent woman. You know, the boobs and everything may portray a different message, but I think she's an intelligent woman. And what I'd be dying to ask her is she actually prepared for what a Reform Party economic policy would mean for this country? You know, pure unregulated capitalism, free market capitalism, unregulated. That's what Farage is about. That's what Richard Tice is about. And the same as, you know, the stats that Lena put forward were factually correct. I'm going to say some things now that are factually correct. It's just from their last manifesto. Nigel Farage wants massive tax cuts for the rich.
Lift the income tax start point to $20,000 per year. Cut energy taxes and beat the cost of living crisis. Cut residential stamp duty. Abolish the VAT tourist tax. Abolish the grief tax. Reduce the main corporation tax rate from 25% to 20%. Tax cuts, tax cuts, tax cuts, tax.
He praised Liz Truss's budget when she came out with a budget which completely tanked the economy. He praised it. He wants massive tax cuts for the rich, and the way he wants to pay for that is by massively slashing public spending. That means further slashing of council funding. Our councils that are already on their knees trying desperately to be able to provide all the services that we need. More slashing of education for our kids, less funding for education for our kids, more slashing of safety nets for the poorest in society, for the disabled in society. To pay for those tax cuts, he will have to massively, this is not an overreaction, he will have to massively slash public spending. He wants a survival of the fittest style economy. Who knows what sort of regulation he will create once he cuts all ties with the EU on human rights, on workers' rights. Who knows? Are we still going to have our 4 weeks holiday pay? Are we still going to have our 40-hour week? Are we still going to have a menial minimum wage that we currently have, is that going to be slashed back even further? This is what Farage is about. He's a city banker. Richard Tice is a property developer. This is what they want. They want massive tax cuts for the rich, and they want a survival of the fittest style economy for us down here in the bottom. And then, of course, you got the big question of the NHS. Farage has made no secret. For years now, he wants a US-style insurance-based healthcare system.
And I think we're going to have to move to an insurance-based system of healthcare. Frankly, I would feel more comfortable that my money would return value if I was able to do that through the marketplace of an insurance company.
Everything in their last manifesto points to that, particularly the policy about if you don't get seen by a doctor or you don't get an operation in a certain amount of time, we'll give you vouchers for the private sector, slowly pushing the workload to the private sector. When wages get so low for nurses and doctors, they will slowly start moving towards the private sector, where the progression will be inevitable, where the private sector will just grow and grow and grow, and the NHS will shrink and shrink and shrink, and we will have an insurance-based system. It's carrying on the work that Thatcher started 40 years ago, of just selling this country over to the private sector. We used to own our utilities, we used to own our gas, our water, our transport, all these things, our housing. We used to have massive housing stocks of council housing. That will all be gone. Everything will be sold off to the private sector. Housing, social housing, council housing, that will not be a thing under Farage. Do you think Richard Tice, a property developer, a multi-millionaire property developer, wants more social housing, wants more council housing? No, he wants all housing in the private sector to rent back to us at extortionate prices. This is what we're going to get. And the healthcare is the kicker, is the real kicker. And it's the combination of everything. I've mentioned council fundings earlier. Have you ever seen these videos in America of Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia, where it's basically just these tent cities where all the poor and deprived people, all the people that have fallen through the cracks through pure capitalist America, the ones that have had no safety nets, that end up on the streets, that end up addicted to drugs. And these towns and cities just have sections that are just zombie land, where people are homeless, penniless, and no availability of healthcare. And this is the big difference. This is the difference. This is why you don't see this in the UK just now. We know the homeless population in the UK has exploded. We know our towns and centres are full of homeless people, but at least at the moment we can hang on to free healthcare. That's why we don't have these zombie cities that they have in the US, where people have got amputated limbs, they've got sores and all sorts of horrible healthcare issues, because at least here in the UK we actually have access. Everyone has access to healthcare. Once that goes, all of your towns and cities, that's what you're going to see. That's what you're going to see in your towns and cities. If council funding is slashed, if benefits are slashed, so when people fall on hard times, they've got no way to lift themselves up, more and more people will end up on the streets, more and more people will end up addicted to drugs, and no availability of healthcare. You will see this. You will see this. And this is the problem, because Farage is the only person that's talking about the issues that people are rightly concerned about. Of course people are concerned about sexual assaults on females. The whole Epping hotel riot started because a young girl was assaulted by a migrant. You know, people care about this stuff, but Farage is the only one that's talking about it. And people will gravitate to Farage because of that. But do they truly understand what a Farage government would really bring to this country? Maybe that he might be able to stop migrants assaulting girls, but the whole chaos of unregulated free market capitalism that he will bring in his wake is disastrous. And I know the majority of people, I don't like far left economics. I don't want communism. The majority of this country doesn't want communism. And on the same stance, I don't want far right economics. I don't want pure, free, unregulated capitalism. We need to meet somewhere in the middle. Anyway, folks, that's enough for today. I've got a feeling that I've worn the same t-shirt 2 videos in a row. Now, bear in mind, my last video was about a week ago. It has been washed. It's gone through rotation and it's come back again. It's because it's summer. I haven't got many white t-shirts, so they kind of go back into rotation pretty quick. But yeah, just bear that in mind. I don't just have one t-shirt. Okay. Till next time, take care.